starting with selfie camera, S-Cinetone on with 4K 30 FPS. That's pretty impressive. So this is the quality. I like how my face is tracking with the focus. Stabilization is just okay, but let me switch to 1080p 60 FPS. Right, and it's great because I actually can keep the same filter on. So if you want to do some color grading, you can actually keep the same profile on. So I really like that. But you tell me which stabilization is actually better, because on a small screen it's really hard for me to tell the difference. What do you think? But I'm gonna take some selfies now. So this is the ultra wide angle in 4K, still using the S-Cinetone on. So this is stabilization. I'm holding this phone in a tripod, so there's no gimbal or anything like this. And I have to say the stabilization is looking good. Four dots. Yeah. So let's zoom in to ×1. This is the main sensor. And did you see that smooth transition? I really like that. This is stabilization on the main sensor. And I'm just having a little walk. Looking good. Let's switch to ×2. Look how smooth that was. Wow. But on the top of that, we can also go to ×3.5. So this is the telephoto lens. But you can get even further to 5.2. No way. On the top of that, we've got even ×10. I am holding this in my hand, but I can see that I can get even further to 15.6. Wow, that's pretty insane. But let's go back to ultra wide angle. This is definitely my favorite feature. 4K 120 frames per second. However, you need to make sure you put all the settings right, because before, you know, I was overexposing some of the areas, so now I have to play with the shutter speed in order to get this right. Well, let's move on to wide angle. Wide angle, color's looking good. Stabilization's okay, but let's move on to telephoto lens. So this is really good for portrait cinematography. Look at that. Really happy with this. You can zoom it in up to, so this is 85mm, but I can even get to 125. We'll go to Little Park. Yeah, let's go. So if you want to make some cinematic shots and get that natural bokeh effect, then this is definitely lens to use. I'm coming. Just using that 4K 120 frames per second again, and I have to say the quality is just insane. Make sure you stick around because I'm going to make a nice cinematic video at some point, but that's going to be a separate video, so stick around. Now I'm recording 4K 60 FPS using that Cinema Pro app. Sadly, you cannot switch between the lenses during recording, but this is stabilization. This is the main sensor. It was a very windy day, so I had to do a voiceover, guys, because it wasn't really fair on your ears to hear that wind blowing. So microphone doesn't really handle wind very well, in my opinion. But what do you think? Is this phone worth buying? You know, there's so many flagships these days. But now I'm switching to ultra wide angle, and I really like the stabilization. Color's looking pretty natural. And I like the fact there is a dual autofocus here. So for tracking subjects, people, really nice. Now this is a telephoto lens. That optical zoom This is equivalent up to 85mm. But I'm going to take some pictures now. Just using the ultra wide angle, you know, so for vlogging, this should be a really good idea, really. However, be prepared to play around with the settings a lot, because if you are not familiar with this, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. If I give this phone to my wife, she wouldn't have a clue what she's doing. But for content creators, absolutely. Even though I am a bit advanced with technology, I have to play around with this phone for a little while to work it out, all the settings. But what do you think? By the way, if you are enjoying my honest opinion, please do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel. I buy all the phones for my own money, and this is no exception. Cheers. If you love sports, this continuous shooting is going to be a game changer. When active children running around, absolutely amazing. None of the shots was actually blurry here. Check this out. What I also love is the fact that bokeh effect will give you beautiful, natural portrait photography. Check this out. Now what I really like this a button here about press it slightly, get the focus, job done. You know, so even when you do more, yeah, there's no button here, so you have to use this. And there's so many options here. Honestly, I am so impressed. If you want to play around with those extra modes, this phone is a really great options. You know, change between the lenses. This is something that I haven't seen on any smartphone that actually does it so smoothly. I really enjoy that. I absolutely love this natural bokeh effect. 120 frames per second on 4K, 24mm at the moment, and you can still see that blurry effect there. Very impressed. But let's move on to some low light conditions. And okay, I'm just using one of the filters again. This is actually the brightest one. And you know what, guys, what I love on this device, that those night pictures are actually showing you exactly what you can see in your naked eye. So there's no artificial intelligence, no extra editing. All you can see, it's actually on the phone, so I really like that. 4K 30 FPS on ultra wide angle. As soon as you go ×1, you can see the difference, that quality improves. ×2, not bad at all. Let's go ×3.5. Again, the telephoto lens isn't as bright as well. 5.2. Let's move on back to the pub, so it's just a little bit brighter, as you can see it, and then ×10. When it's dark, I've noticed that focus, it is struggling a little bit. But let's go back to ultra wide angle. Using, you know, another filter on the selfie camera. And you know what, guys, there are only two things that I wish that could be a little bit better. First one is the selfie camera. As you can see, the field of view is not the widest that I have seen so far. Also, telephoto lens doesn't always focus that well. But other than that, you know, this is such a nice aspect ratio in my opinion. Great build quality. You got 4K display, 120 Hz refresh rate, brilliant battery life. You know, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. I have edited this video on this phone and it was brilliant. You know, the shutter speed is fast, autofocus generally is pretty good. So I am very impressed about this phone so far. Please let me know your thoughts about this and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.